It's no secret the Dallas Stars have suffered a lot of injuries to begin this season, but it's given head coach Glenn Goldson an opportunity to experiment. And with that experimentation, he may have not only just found his new top line, but one of the best in all of hockey.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, forward producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. With all the injuries the Dallas Stars have suffered this season, especially up front, Roope Hintz, Oscar Beck, Matt Duchene, Radek Faksa, Jamie Benn, have the Stars found a new top line with Mikko Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, and Jason Robertson, who did not start the season together. We're going to discuss that and why I think they have the potential to be one of the best lines in all of hockey. We're also going to discuss what's trending for the Dallas Stars, what is trending upwards during the 7-game point streak, and talk goalie puck a bit, talk his style. Are we starting to see it come to fruition? How do you like it? Do you not? What would you like to see changed? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Please drop a like, drop a comment as well, and of course, hit that subscribe button for any of you that are new. Thank you so much for joining us. We put out episodes each and every day here on Locked On Stars. So let's talk about this new top line that Goldson has thrown together recently. They've been playing almost exclusively together since Roope Hintz went out of the lineup. And why I also think this opens up more avenues for the Stars to maybe be a deeper team. I know that's weird to say since it's not like the Stars are adding anybody new, but you can maybe spread the wealth around a bit more as well. Why I think this line can be one of the best in hockey. I just want to talk about the ingredients of each of the players before we get into some of the numbers. I think this trio just has the ingredients and the makings of a really strong top line. You have Robertson. He's your lethal shooter, can put the puck in the back of the net, not relying a ton on his speed, of course, but is solid defensively, responsible. I would put Johnston in that category as well. I know he doesn't grade out extremely high, but has had a remarkable start to the season. Johnston comes with that speed, the playmaking ability, his awareness, his strengths, getting the puck out of his own zone, helping out the defense. And then you have Mikko Rantanen, of course, who's sort of your superstar. He's big, he's powerful. He gives that line some meat. He gives that line some potatoes, right? He's like the meat and potatoes of the line, elite playmaker, but also brings some size. He can throw his weight around, not afraid to bang bodies and to mix it up. He's really strong on the walls. I think Johnson is real crafty as well. So their cycle game is extremely good because of their ability to hold on to pucks, their ability to win battles in the corners. And then you have Robertson that is sort of a hybrid that can hang out and use that lethal shot. He's able to get his shot off incredibly fast. He leads the Stars this year with shots on goal. He's just peppering netminders. He has 56 this season. Next closest is Johnston with 43. So that's why I think they have a makeup, just the ingredients of their skill set to be a great line together. Now you can just get to some of the numbers. So they played about 27 minutes together. That's 3 games worth. 15 shots for, 16 against. And I think you also have to factor in the Stars' blue line has maybe not helped them in some of these cases. They have been stuck out on some shifts, some of it to their own doing, but also because the Stars just have trouble exiting their own zone. But they've been on the ice for 3 goals. They have 1 goal against. Their expected goals for 1.98. That's the 3rd highest on the Stars. But you also have to factor in, this is a small sample size. The lines above them are Roope, Rantanen, Steele, which was our pseudo top line coming into the year. And then the other one was Johnston, Bork, and Robertson, who played a lot together and has also been very effective for the Stars as well. But you spread that 1.98 over 8 games or 60 minutes worth, it is comfortably, you would expect, to be the top line for Dallas. You go to expected goals for per 60 minutes. I think this is maybe a more accurate representation since they haven't played a ton. 4.88 in their 39 minutes together. That is second best in the NHL. The only line that's better than them is Strome, Ovechkin, and Beauvillier. So that is what they are doing offensively and their ability to create chances. Their scoring chances for that line is 19 in the 3 games. 19 chances. The next highest is 26 between Hintz, Rantanen, and Steele. But again, that is with 8 games worth and 55 minutes together. So 19 chances alone in these 3 games and 27 minutes together. They have been really effective, 10 high danger chances, and they could have scored more the other night. If they bear down on some of their looks, I think they could, by far and away, be the best line on Dallas. And at this point in their current makeup, they certainly are. And I think some of the numbers we're seeing, the early returns, are starting to show some of those signs. You look at the expected goals for, again, this is, not a ton of minutes together. They're 52nd in the NHL at 3.2. And they're the only line that has less than 40 minutes that is up to that level. So these are, of course, all-encompassing stats. So the more minutes they get together, I think you're going to see them skyrocket and potentially become one of the best lines in hockey. Right now, you look at some of the best lines. You have McKinnon with Natchez. They are electric. We know that. They have been extremely effective. You look at Dorofeev with Hurdle and Marner has also been strong. There's a lot of great trios. It's still really early, but this is something I think the Stars have walked into that we may have not got to see this early if it wasn't for some of the injuries. Hence, Rantanen and Steele were put together right off the hop, and they showed some signs at points. I don't think it was clicking like they would have wanted. I know a lot of people were hoping Johnston would actually get a shot on that line. They can move Hintz down. Well, here you go. And it has really flourished over the last couple of games. Rantanen, during the 7-game point streak for the Stars, has 10 points in those 7 games. So he's trending upwards. Wyatt Johnston with 3 assists the other night. Robo has been very, very productive and consistent. He has 11 points this season. So these are 3 guys that have been kind of thrown together, didn't get a ton of time throughout the preseason and have just found a way to make it work because they're really good players. But as I mentioned to begin with, I think they just have the makings and the skill sets each one of them bring to the table to be one of the best lines in hockey, because they were pretty dominant the other night against Edmonton. And I know it was a back-to-back for the Oilers, but that's a good team. And they put some really strong shifts together. They went head-to-head against McDavid and company a couple of times. And you just look at the early numbers, the analytics that we're getting, I think it's really strong to make the case this line could be the line moving forward for Dallas. And why I think now you may have the opportunity to be a bit deeper. You can move Hintz down. Let's say everybody's healthy. Hintz can play with Sagan, maybe Ben, or you move him to the wing or Duchesne to the wing. Imagine Sagan, Hintz, and Duchesne. Now that is a line that I think could be really dangerous and effective. Then you can move Ben down a bit. Then you can move Jamie Benn down. He can play with Borky. You can maybe throw Steele on that line. That could be a third line. It has some speed, creativity, but also some pop offensively, you hope. A bottom 6 that, again, is more of a checking bottom 6 for Dallas. They don't have the scoring capabilities as they once had recently, but I think you can spread the wealth down a bit. Now, Johnston has sort of been moved up. Remember, Johnston kind of was in that third line. He was playing with Bork in Robo a bit, and they showed some flashes, but I don't know if you were getting the early offensive production that you would have liked out of that line, although Johnston really hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, he has 7 goals on the year. He's really carried the load. I believe now, with what the Stars have had to just deal with and had to change on the fly, they found one of the best lines. I think it is clearly their best line, especially right now. But even when some of these bodies come back, it is the best. And who knows, a month we get to Christmas time, maybe we're talking about one of the best lines in hockey. And something that may have not occurred this early, although if the Stars offense was sputtering, maybe they would have got thrown together, but I don't know. Hence, if he's healthy, I think there's no doubt he's playing alongside that line. So this is, I think this is a real positive for Dallas, a silver lining, if you will, out of all these injuries the Stars have suffered. Speaking of positives, let's talk about what's trending up. During the 7-game point streak for the Stars, what have they done better recently over the last week and a half that has allowed them to stay in games? Would they like to be more effective? Would they like to play in front? I'm sure they would. So if they can add that to this arsenal, they may be in really, really good shape. And we're talking about a top 3 team in the Central by Thanksgiving. Let's do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve everything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast, exciting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it so easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, it's simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back into the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Dallas has really shored up a few things in their game over this 7-game point streak. There are some things I think we would all like to see from Dallas moving forward, especially their 5-on-5 play the other night against Edmonton was a great example of that, where they actually seemed to have a forecheck. They did spend some time in their own zone in that first period. They weren't as hard on pucks, but in the second, third period, their compete level was really up, and they started forcing the issue rather than reacting. And Goldson had a quote following the game the other day that was really brilliant. And a big shout out to Robert Tiffin for noting this. And it was a question about how the Stars are starting from behind. I think now 8 of the last 9, they've been scored on first, and they're just playing a lot of catch up. They've done a great job of clawing their way out of some of these holes, but we all know that is something that you're not going to be able to sustain. But here's a great quote, and I think we've sort of kind of talked about this at points early this season. It's a long one, so bear with me. I think there's still part of us that's tentative, and it's coming out. It's working its way out of the system. That's really what I believe, and I think we've got a great group of guys that want to do everything right. But what we've been talking about this last week is we need to just play hockey. And we've got all these system changes and everything, but we've got them down now. But within all that structure, there's got to be hockey players. And I'm trying now as a coach to free them up to play. Half the game's random, and in that random part of the game, we need to instinct and hockey guys. And that's where I'm trying to free them up. I think it's going to get out of our system very soon. And when it does, I think the sky's the limit. I see that really, really in the defensive zone for Dallas. When he talks about being tentative, when I watch certain stretches of the game, it feels like defensemen, forwards, whatever combination, they are thinking about what they should be doing, thinking about where they should be, and instead of just doing, right, playing instinctual hockey, which I think sometimes negatively affects them, probably more often than not, because when they're thinking, it's that extra half a step, extra second that the opponent gets that allows them to keep a puck in the zone, that allows them to keep possession, or allows them that extra room to make a pass. Whereas if they just reacted and maybe attacked or went after an opponent, maybe put a body on somebody, instead of just trying to think about where they should be. I think you see that a lot in the defensive zone, where you'll see at points when, like last game, Edmonton, there was a stretch in that first period. They had possession in the offensive zone for them. So in the Stars defensive zone, and it seemed like all five bodies it was kind of like you're set up on a PK, like almost a perfect shape. You had two defensemen sort of in their front of their own net, right? You had a forward sort of at top of the circles, and you had your two wingers up high, kind of guarding the D. And it's almost like a box, which is not exactly what they're trying to do in their D zone when they're at full strength. I think you see that. So I like that answer that he's now just trying to get them to play. And hopefully becomes subconscious a bit. And maybe we saw some of that the other night. So let's talk about what's trending, right? This is the point of this segment. What's been trending up? I mentioned, the Rantanen line. That's been a great one. Now some of the numbers. Defensively, Stars have been really damn good. Stars have been great. Part of that is goaltending. They've been really, really strong there. Jake Ottinger is top 5 over the 7-game point stretch. I know it's sort of nitpicky, kind of picking back to when the Stars started this streak, but I think it's fair if you want to look at what they're doing better. Otter has been really good. Among goaltenders that have played at least 2 games during that stretch, Otter is in the top 5 both save percentage and goals against. The Stars as a team as a whole, 2.14, that is second best in the NHL during that span. So they've been much better in front of their own net. They've just been much better as a team defensively. So they're starting to work out some of those kinks. We know the power play's been great. That's still trending 32%. It's 5th in the NHL over that span. PK, not so much, but we're talking about the positives here today. Now, I mentioned Otter has been really strong. The Stars have picked up 11 points during that stretch, I believe it was as well. Yeah, 11 points. That's number 1 in the NHL. So their defensive game has been much better. It's been, I think, a combination both of goaltending. You look at the overall goals the Stars are giving up has drastically come down a bit. Like the other night, they gave up 3 against Edmonton, but there's a lot of 2s in there. Of course, Otter had the shutout against Washington. Otter this year, top 10 in goal save above expected. That's really good. For a large chunk of last year, he was sort of just kind of in the 16 to 20 range, sort of that middle of the pack he was hovering. He's in the top 10 this year. I'm in that category, which is always a key for goaltenders. So it's good to see him sort of living in that top 10 range, because if he plays like he has over the last week or so, Stars are going to win a ton of games. And the Stars have not given up as many big chances over the last 7 games or so as they did in that opening stretch of games, where it just felt like they were surviving. They were treading water, and they were asking Otter to make, let's say, 8 to 10 gigantic saves instead of, maybe it's down to 4 or 5 now a game. And that matters. Like, I think that's really, really big for Dallas. I think that really is. You look at some of the expected goals numbers and goals against numbers over the last 10 games. Like it's starting to trend up a bit, which is good news, especially the goals saved. There's some real key stuff that the Stars are doing. And part of it maybe is just getting used to the new system. Also, I think it's very fair to say that the injuries have played a role in some of this, but it's also a real positive that the Stars have been able to show some of these signs, although they're struggling, or although they're dealing with injuries, not struggling, but although they're dealing with these injuries, they are starting to trend upwards. Now, look, the 5-on-5 play, it's one game against Edmonton that was really strong. We haven't seen that maybe night in, night out. So that is something that you hope is a trend, because you look at the overall numbers at 5-on-5, they're not great. Being outshot 237 to 282, outchanced 238 to 273. They're only being outscored 19 to 21 though. The power play has really, really helped them, right? That has been a strong key for them. And this is with too, like they haven't been great in the dots. Obviously they're missing guys that just win a ton of draws. And this is without a PK that's just not been stellar, which again is a bit weird. But maybe it was just a matter of time where they were going to have a big slump. They've been almost exclusively top 5 team over the last couple of years. So maybe this is just a regression to a mean at some point. But they're still doing some really good things. I mean, they're doing this with experimentation, right? They're doing this with different lines. They're doing this with a blue line that is not ideal. They're playing 11 forwards, 7D. Kyle Capobianco's getting some action. Like they're doing this in not ideal circumstances, and the Stars are finding a way to stay in games. But if they could start putting together more complete games that is with better starts, getting on the board first, not digging yourself these 2-goal holes, those are really hard, really hard to come back from. It exerts a lot of energy, especially on the top guys, to try to pull yourself back into games, but they're doing it, and they deserve some credit for that. Let's talk about goalie puck a bit, right? Sometimes coaches have a certain way of playing. Have we seen what we were hoping to see out of goalie here in the first 13 games now this season? We've been talking about this quite a bit. Would love to hear your insight in the comments below. I'll share my opinion in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, FanDuel allows you to get in on the action. You can ride the hot hand for who will score next, or just fourth quarter comebacks even, right? There's so many different ways for you to bet. They have same-game parlays. You can do individual player props, a shot at a bigger payout, right? That's what it's all about. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making the late push. And it can be football. It can be baseball, which I know is done now, but there's going to be opportunities with college baseball, all that good stuff, right? There's just multiple ways for you to get in on the action. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Goalie puck is what we're calling it. Are we seeing Glenn Goldson's system at its best? Do we think it will get better when the team gets healthier? What have we seen? What do we like? What do we love? What do we not like so much? I think this can go a number of ways, and I would love to read some of your thoughts in the comments. You know, I've seen a lot of comments on some of my posts on X, on the Locked On Stars account, by the way. Follow us there. Would appreciate that. You know, there's some people that, no, I don't think have fully been converted to a goalie fan yet, or goalie stan. I would say I am much more on the positive side of Goaltending. If I had to give like a percentage, I would say like I'm like at 80%. I would say like 80-20. I'm in favor of goalie. I just believe we've seen a lot of good with not a whole lot for him to go off of, if that makes sense. And I think he deserves some credit for that. And this hasn't been an easy start to the season. And I think the schedule eases up a touch. Although at this point, like every game's a dogfight. So who cares what the team is on paper for Dallas? But I think the Stars have maybe overachieved a bit. I think that's way fair to say. Maybe I'm not in the minority. And I think they've overachieved here in the first 13 games. When you look at, again, injuries, some struggles here and there in certain areas of PK. There's been some things that they have to clean up. One is I'm not a fan of. I don't love their play in their defensive zone. I don't know what it is. I think I'm so accustomed the last couple of years just watching them attack and kill plays immediately along the walls. They were really good off the rush too. I haven't seen that enough. I think they really struggle with speed, especially across the line. They allow that. Look at the two goals, a couple of the goals the Oilers scored the other night, that width of the rink pass on entries. And it's not all on defensemen. Some of it is forwards, right? You got to track back. Some of it maybe just inopportune line changes. Some of it is turnovers. Some of it is just poor puck control. That is something that they have to kick out of their game. They make some of the elementary mistakes, is sort of how I described it on yesterday's episode. Just soft plays, just giving the puck away, and making it too easy for their opponents to come downhill. Their defensive zone exits, right? You heard Eric Johnson on ESPN Plus talk about how, DeBoer was a bit more like, I feel like he said it in a weird way. He kind of made it seem like DeBoer's system was more complicated, but I think it's actually the opposite. I would say Goldson, the way he wants to kind of break out and how he sees it, is a bit more complicated in the fact that he wants the Stars to maybe hang on to pucks more. As with DeBoer, it was just get the puck out of the zone as quickly as possible. Fly to zone. Remember all those stretch plays? We would see Dadonov, Marchment, and they would hit them on the long stretch passes. I think I would like the Stars to get some more of that in their game. I think they need to put some of that back, because I feel like teams don't respect them now to maybe make that pass. Teams are just pinching in heavy. We see it night in and night out, right? These teams, when the puck gets thrown around to the wall, and it's a winger for Dallas, like those defensemen just come down, and it allows them to hold the zone, and it allows these really poor plays by Dallas, instead of maybe just making the simple, stupid play, just trying to get the puck out, or maybe finding a guy, at neutral ice. I think I would like to see that change a bit, because sometimes it feels like the Stars just don't have options. Some of their defensemen don't have options. I think that's a part of the issue. It's not just they're making bad plays. I think sometimes there's not a lot of options. So they kind of have to just throw the puck up the wall, or maybe they have to ice the puck, you name it. Some of it is self-inflicting wounds. I think they hold on to pucks a bit too long. Harley, I think, has some of that in his game recently. Saw the other night, he's like trying to just skate away and play keep away from Connor McDavid. And Harley's, he's skilled, right? But there was a point where he's like trying to hold on to a puck, and he doesn't get rid of it, and it ends up being a turnover. And then McDavid sets up Draisaitl for a decent chance. They're like, okay, that's you got to cut your losses and get the puck off your stick. But I still think we've seen a lot of good. I think the physicality has ramped up a bit. There's been nights where I think you can just feel it's not going for them, and offense can be hard to come by outside of your top guys. But we've seen an effective fourth line. Bastian, I think, has been really effective for Dal. Adam Ernie, I think, has had a strong couple of games here recently. These are players that you don't want the Stars to rely on come February or March or come the playoff time. Look, I realize that this team is not, made up perfectly. It has holes, but for what they're asking out of some of these guys, I think they're doing the best they can. If they were slotted in more comfortable, more ideal roles, I think it's a bit of a different story. But you're asking Blackwell to play with Seguin and Ernie a bit. You're asking Seguin to sort of be your middle six guy that is kind of playing up and down the line, playing wing. You got to come and take draws, right? He's just doing a little bit of everything with all the injuries. And I just think Goldson does deserve a lot of credit for that. It hasn't been pretty, but Goldson, and what we've seen so far, I think he kind of preached. We heard a lot about these changes and what his vision was, so to speak. And I think we've got to look at it. And there's been parts of this season where it's looked really good, and you're like, okay, yeah. Think of the first couple of games of the season. They were like, okay, I kind of see it. And then they've kind of gone through this lull. And they have a good game the other night. Can they keep it up, right? That's always a question. Can we just continue to find some more consistency? That's the real challenge now. Can they do it more often than not? Because that's been the question. We see pockets, we see stretches where it's like, okay, yeah, like this is who the Stars can be, but they have to elongate some of those. And easier said than done. You're gonna have games where it's not going your way. You're gonna have games that are going your way. You don't win. You have games that you stink in that you find a way to salvage. And that's sort of what they're doing. And I think that's just the name of the game right now when you have, half of your top six gone. Like your best players are gone to some degree. So that's what I think sort of Goldson. I'm definitely a fan of his. I would say. I know not all of you, even listening to this, are maybe completely convinced, and I think that's fair to say. I think there probably should be some worries. We talked plenty about those and some concerns with Dallas, but I want to share my thoughts on some of that. But that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate all the love and support as always. Thank you for listening to Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Please be sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. For those of you that are new, welcome aboard. Post here every single day, and we're right in the thick of it. So a lot of fun, exciting things coming in the next month or so. A big month upcoming for Dallas. Stars back in action tomorrow. We'll have a preview of Anaheim, who's been off to a stellar start. That is going to be a fun test, and I think a tough one for Dallas as well. So they have to be ready. We'll discuss that on tomorrow's show. So have a great rest of your day, Stars. I hit the hiccups. We'll see you tomorrow.